Rejoice always, pray continuously, give thanks in all circumstances, for this is God's will in you in Christ Jesus. Colossians 4:2, devote yourselves to prayer. Stay alert in it with thanksgiving. Psalm 100, verse 4, enter his gates with thanksgiving and his courts with praise. Give thanks to him and praise his name. Colossians 3:17, whatever you do in word or deed, do all in the name of the Lord Jesus, giving thanks through him to God the Father always. Psalm 106, praise the Lord, give thanks to the Lord, for he is good. Psalm 107, let them give thanks, Yahweh, for his loyal love and his wonderful deeds for the children of mankind. James 1, every good and every perfect gift comes from above, comes down from the Father of lights. Remind your flock this morning, he says, that thankfulness is not dependent upon our circumstances, and it never is, but on God's love and continued faithfulness to us. You know, there's many things that we are mindful to be thankful for. And one of the things I think it's easy for most of us, we're thankful for the simple things and the good things and the answers to prayer and the blessings that come. But you know what? It's those night seasons of life and it's those dark seasons that we find ourselves in sometimes that remind us how much we need him. And that with the words of Jesus in John 15, without me you can do nothing, really echoes true. I had an opportunity this week. I had a passage of scripture given to me this week early on. I was telling the prayer team this morning, I said, it was like Monday morning, I got this. And I'm like, Lord, I don't know what to do with this. It's the 91st Psalm. And I said, I don't know what to do with this. But I couldn't get away from it. And then a couple days later, my Aunt Thelma passed away Monday morning. I got word shortly afterwards. I was here at the church and received word that my Aunt Thelma, my dad's last sister, is actually my last living aunt on both sides of my family. All of my mom's brothers and sisters and their husbands and wives are all gone. And on my dad's side of the family, there's just my dad, my Uncle Tilden, and my Aunt Thelma. My Aunt Thelma went home to be with Jesus Monday morning early. And so as the week wore on, my mind kept coming back to the 91st Psalm and what it is that David was trying to say. And I know the heading my Bible says God is our protector. But I got to thinking about, as preparation for my Aunt Thelma's funeral service came up yesterday, we had her memorial service and got to visit. Man, it was a great reunion time. We get to see them. There was more Joneses than you could shake a stick at yesterday, and gathered in a church. But cousins, oh my goodness, cousins on down the line, second and third cousins, all there. But I got to see something that really took me in it, and especially as the day unfolded yesterday. The 91st Psalm echoed back into my mind. In Psalm chapter 90, verses 9 and 10, I'm going to go back and forth here this morning in Scripture, but in Psalm chapter 90, in the previous chapter, we find these words from the psalmist. He says, for our days have passed away in your wrath, and we finish our years like sigh. The days of our lives are 70 years, and if by reason of strength they are 80 years, yet their boast is only labor and sorrow, for it is soon cut off, and we will fly away. And I thought about that aspect of the psalmist David and what he was trying to say there. He was telling us that we have a measure of about 70. Life has been given to us for a measure of about 70 to 80 years. And if by good measure God gives us service wound down and it closed, I watched as the service came to a close, and 18 of her grandchildren stepped up and came to the platform and sang a song. As one of the granddaughters went to the piano and played, and all 18 of them stood there with joy in their heart, gratitude in their soul for a home that they had grown up and been exposed to. And they sing that song, Great is Thy Faithfulness. And it got me to thinking, and most of you have heard me tell the story before. I walked up, before I get to the story, I walked up to my cousin Lester. We were doing a final passing, and my cousin Lester is a pastor over in Ohio. And I walked up to my cousin Lester, and as we stood there waiting to go by one final time, I looked at Lester and I said, we are so fortunate to have been born in the family that we were born into. To give you a little bit of background, there was more preachers yesterday. You would have thought you were at a ministerial convention, because there was more preachers in that service yesterday than I've seen for quite some time in any service, even camp service. But I got to give you a little background. Some of you know the story. As Lester and I stood and talked, and he said, I recall when our grandfather passed away, not one of the 10 kids was saved, and I said, I've heard Dad tell this story so many times, and he said, I said, my dad told it too on numerous occasions. But the night my grandfather passed away, my grandpa had 10 kids, and there's a song a lady by the name of Alberta Harmon wrote about my grandfather called Brother Jones, and talked about his life, talked about my grandfather's life, and there's a line in the song says, he never preached a sermon, but he lived one every day. And when my grandfather passed away and went home to be with the Lord, the evening that he passed, the boys had all gathered in the room, and they were reading the Bible. They were reading their dad's Bible. And my grandfather took his last breath and went home to be with Jesus. And my dad talked about how that when he and my Uncle Kenny drove back from Albany that night, he said, Kenny, I don't know about you, but when it comes to my turn to die, I'm going to die like that. And it was just a few weeks later that my Uncle Meredith got saved, and his wife Frances got saved, and their daughter Debbie was married to our district superintendent. She married a pastor, and then my dad got saved a few weeks after my Uncle Meredith got saved, and one by one, down through the years, my aunts and uncles all gave their life to Jesus. But I remember Dad telling this story that the night my grandfather passed away, when he said, I want to die like his dad did, knowing who Jesus is and having the Bible read around the bedside as I go home to glory. He said, I knew if I was dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress. My God, in Him I will trust. Surely He will deliver you from the snare of the fowler, and from the perilous pestilence. He shall cover you with His feathers, and under His wings you will take refuge. His truth will be your shield and buckler, and you shall not be afraid of terror by night, nor of the arrow that flies by day, nor of the pestilence that walks in darkness, nor of the destruction that days waste at noonday. 1,000 may fall at your side, and 10,000 at your right hand, but it shall not come near you. Only with your eyes shall you look and see the reward of the wicked, because you have made the Lord, who is my refuge, even the Most High, your dwelling place. No evil shall befall you, nor shall any plague come upon you near your dwelling. For He has given His angels charge over you to keep you in all of your ways. In their hands they shall bear you up, lest you dash your foot against a stone. And you shall tread upon the lion and the cobra and the young lion and the serpent, and you shall trample them underfoot, because He has set His love upon me. Therefore I will deliver him. I will set him on high, because he has known my name. He shall call upon me, and I will answer him. I will be with him in trouble. I will deliver him and honor him. With long life I will satisfy him, and I will show him my salvation. May God add His blessing to the reading of His word. Father, just these next few moments that we have together, I ask and I pray that you would give us the utterance to speak what it is you would have us to speak. Give us eyes to see, ears to hear, and a heart that is sensitive to receive the seed of God's word this morning. The soul of our heart, may it be soft, may it be tender, that your word will take root and take deep root and begin to germinate and grow and produce the fruit that you wish it to produce in our life. Give victory in this service as you count victory. All these favors we ask and pray in Jesus' mighty name. Amen. You may be seated. This prayer is a prayer of that the psalmist David here is giving. This 91st is God, how God is our protector. And I thought about that as we stood yesterday, and I thought about how our family, and my family in particular, has been so blessed with length of days and the blessings that we've had of God. And I remember Brittany and I shared a few years ago, it was back in 2019, it was December 19, my mom, we got the call. My mom had been diagnosed with dementia in the third week of September, and my mom got on a slide that year when she was diagnosed with dementia. It was like my mother got on a slide and went straight downhill. And usually, once you're diagnosed with Alzheimer's dementia, you got 5 to 7 years of life, and you just begin to lose everybody and everything. And I remember Mom had really taken this turn and just gone downhill in just a matter of weeks. Mom died right before Christmas. But we got the call. We were having play practice on a Sunday evening, and the call came that Mom wasn't good. And so we immediately left and just I didn't even take a change of clothes or anything. Jennifer would bring stuff down later. But I remember getting down to be at Mom's side because we weren't sure she was going to make it. On the way, I called my sister Terry and said, Terry, I said, Mom's bad and you need to come home. And she asked me, she said, how bad is she? I said, Terry, it's bad. Mom needs, you need to come home if you want to see Mom before she passes. And so she worked on getting an airline ticket out of Virginia to come home, and she made it home the next morning. But we sat up that night with Mom, and we all took turns. All of us kids would take turns, and Dad would take a turn sitting in bed with our mother and holding her hand and just kind of sharing thoughts and things with her and whispering things in her ear. And she knew we were there because when we would take her hand, she would squeeze our hand. But anyway, the night unfolded to daylight, and Terry showed up the next morning. She was able to get there late mid-morning, and she got to be with Mom, and we all got to be with our mother. Brittany had come down. She was just one of the grandkids that was able to make it down, but her and another couple of her cousins were there. Jason was there. But we sat around that day. We took turns still visiting with our mother, with her grandmother. We had supper. We fixed supper. All the boys got together and we helped fix supper, and we 3 at 8, and just one by one we continued to linger in the room. And it was amazing. What was amazing was that there came a point late in that evening then when it's just like we all found her, not just one by one, we'd given Dad some time to be with Mom because her sats were changing and falling. And so we gone, but then after Dad had his time with Mom, we all went in and filtered in, and we sat around her bedside. My brother Wes had brought a small little Bluetooth box in, and he was playing some music off of his phone, and we sat the rest of that evening up until it was about 2:30 the next morning when Mom passed. But we sat there around her bed that evening and listened to songs that were sung and played, and we read scripture. We read the Word of God and read scripture together, and then one by one, I can't remember whose idea it was. I don't remember. Brittany, you might remember, but I can't remember. But somebody said, I think it'd be good to pray over Mom and to give thanks for our mother. And it was really cool for me because my brother Wes and I are both in ministry, and people have heard us talk and they've heard us pray, and my sister Terry has been very active in ministry, and I've heard her share and lead and pray, but I've never heard my sister Janice pray, and I never heard my brother Mark or my brother David pray. And that night as we sat there on my mom's bedside, we all took turns praying and giving thanks for a life that has been well lived and a life that has been sown so deeply into our lives. And as we did, one by one we finished. And then my father closed up with a prayer. And as my father was praying, my mom breathed her last and went home to be with the Lord. And we closed up the night and we cleaned up and we called the funeral home. They come and received my mom. And so we got everything squared away and would leave Dad with Janice and Terry were going to stay with Dad. And so Brittany and I headed back home, and I remember saying to Brittany on the way back home, people should be jealous of us. Not because we don't have anything. We don't, as far as this world goes, driving 13 and 14-year-old vehicles and wearing clothes that have been around since Moses got off the ark. But anyway, I looked at Brittany and I said, people should be jealous of us. Not because of the tangible things of life, but because of what we have in Christ Jesus. And I told her how blessed. I said, our lives are so blessed, and we have so much. But it all stems back to a man who had lived a life. And as I said yesterday in this church and saw all these distant cousins and second cousins and third cousins, and how many of them were actively involved in ministry and serving the Lord today. And it stemmed back to a time when a man would pray, Lord, save my children. And if it would be favorable, call one of them into ministry. And I thought about, as I read this 91st Psalm came to me again, and then it was funny because there was a video that popped up, and of all people, Denzel Washington shared something on social media later this week. It was along about Friday, where I seen that he said that he made reference to the 91st Psalm and it is a prayer of protection. And I got to thinking about that, and I thought about, I stand here today, and I told Lester, I said, our lives have been blessed, but it's because a man had made a choice and made a decision that he was going to live his life in service to God. And even though he didn't get to see the fruits of his prayer and the fruits of his commitment, his dedication in his life, yet it paid off. And you guys have heard me make reference to this so many times down the years, but I remember 1995, Joe White spoke to Promise Keepers, and he challenged us guys. He said this, because this was me. My grandfather passed away before I was born. But he said this, and he said, men, he said, you may not live long enough to know your grandchildren, but live well enough that they know who you are. And I think for all of us here this morning, this is my testimony more than anything, but I think for all of us here this morning, we can relate to this and we can understand this, because I think there's several of us here that have had want to close out, but I want you to keep your Bibles open, and I want you to look at what David is saying and listen to Mike as he shares. This is about 10 minutes, so bear with me as we share this story. My name is Mike Stolding, and I'm here today to share an experience that took place within my life that had a major impact, and it involves two callings. It all started in 1969. Uncle Sam tapped me on the shoulder and said, "I need you." He told me that he would provide me with clothing and food and shelter and medical attention if I needed it, and I thought that sounded like a pretty good deal. And I showed up for service. So I'm at Fort Knox, Kentucky, and I'm given my MOS, what I'm going to be doing for the next 2 years. And it simply said, I showed it to my sergeant. I said, "What is this?" And he said, "You're going to be a grunt." I said, "Oh, grunt." Didn't know what grunt was, but from Fort Knox, then I went to Fort Polk, Louisiana. And at the end of that time, I was given a 30-day furlough. During that 30 days, I got myself married. And so end of that, I was in Nam. We flew into Saigon. And from there, we were transported to Long Binh. And that was our rear base. Never saw it very much because as a grunt, as now I'm finding out what a grunt soldier is. We were in the field. We were in the jungles. I guess I'm about 7 or 8 months into my 12-month tour, and I'd already been hospital once, had surgery. But about 7 months after I was released from the hospital the first time for field duty, my company had already been moved to Cambodia. They needed our presence there. I was with the 199th Light Infantry Brigade. So they flew me there. I reunited with my company and my platoon and my squad. And about a week later, we were sent out on maneuvers. It was then that we realized that things was not going well. We found out what the Red Army could do and how strong they were. We were outmanned and outgunned, and about three days we were running out of ammo. We were out of supplies. We could not order airstrikes. The enemy was that close. We were surrounded, and a decision was made that we were either going to fight to the end or we was going to surrender the next morning. Well, that's when my past began to pay off. I've been brought up in the church. I cried out to God. I repented. I told him how sorry I was for living for the devil instead of living for him. And God did what no one else can do. And it was dark of the night. Let me tell you, there were other men who was on their knees. They were making peace with God. It was at that moment that there was a light that shone above me and came down and came into me. It was not a physical light, but it was the Spirit of God. And I tell you, there was a peace like certainly cannot explain. But I felt as safe in all of that was going on around us. I knew I was in the arms of Jesus. And whatever would happen, it was going to be okay, because I would be with God, and God would be with me. Now, let me tell you, it didn't take me long to get right with God. It taught me a lesson
If you're desperate for God, God will be there. Most of the time, I don't think we're desperate enough, but I was that night. Found God, saved me, and I got to thinking about that. I thought, well, God answered my prayer. I cried out in desperation for salvation, and God saved me. Maybe I could make another request. And so I began to say, oh God, I know I don't deserve it, but if there's any way possible that you could spare us, I'll do anything that you would ever ask me to do. You can count on me, Lord. I keep my promise. Nothing really happened after that point other than within about an hour and a half, the word began to come down, filter down. The lieutenant had made a decision. They had been looking at the maps and looking at the terrain to see if there was any way possible that we might be able to move through without being detected by the enemy. Now remember, they were so close to us that we couldn't even order an airstrike because we would be getting hit the same as the enemy would be getting hit. It was treacherous. The terrain was horribly bad, but it was worth a try. They told us to leave our rucksacks, everything behind. Only thing that we was allowed to take would be our ammo, firearm, and a canteen of water. And we was going to go through the night. Now that we'd never done that, moved that far in the night. It was a triple canopy jungle, very difficult in the daytime, let alone doing it at night. We got in single file, a whole platoon. It's very noisy moving through the jungle, a platoon of men. No sooner had we got in lined up, we had to hold on to each other, to the one in front of us, to know where we were going. It began to rain. That's a bittersweet moment. Bitter because it makes the traveling even more treacherous up the slopes that we were going to have to travel through triple canopy jungle. But at the same time, it softened everything. And it was as if God had put feathers on our feet. We was able to move without being detected. We walked all night. And it was morning that found us safe. We was able to get to an LZ where they ordered a pickup, and that was the longest night I ever spent, but it was the best because of what God did in my heart. It was not just short of a miracle, it was a full-blown miracle because no one thought it was possible. God spared us. We had fatalities. We'd already been shot up pretty bad. We had wounded with us. We had the dead with us. And we all got out. And so now it's no longer 1969. It's about 1974. I'm back home. All that I'm thinking is behind me. Wife and I, we have a little girl. We're going to church. Just built a new home. Got a decent job. Everything's looking good. And we decided to go to revival. A lot of revivals in those days. And we went to revival. And it was there during that revival that God tapped me on the shoulder. And he reminded me of a promise that I had made one dark night. I kept my promise. So I look back upon that now, and it's been 4 churches God has blessed us, allowed us to be in, to pastor. And that's over a span of 41 years. And there's been a lot of challenges in those 41 years, but God has so beautifully proven himself. He definitely became a way maker back there in Nam. providing a way of escape. But also over these 41 years, every challenge that came, God always made a way, provided, met our needs way beyond what we feel like that we have deserved. 41 years and then 4 years as an assistant district superintendent. And now here I am, and we're attending Bethel. Recently, Dr. Prince has shared 4 points that I don't think I will forget, and they were very simple, and they applied to my life. He said, God picks, God gives, we submit, and we do. And I thought, that's exactly what God has done within my life. God picked me out when I thought I was had nobody. He equipped me. He gave me what I needed to do something beyond my imagination. All I had to do was submit to Him, and go out and do His will. And it's been beautiful. God has provided, met our needs. I thank Him every day for His goodness to me.
Shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. that we need to